What's the biggest secret you've kept quiet that could have ruined lives? A new girl came to our school from England, and her reason for coming was just for studies. She was smart, and she was taking 3 AP classes, so it seemed legit. Well, a few months later, I heard my cousin talking about a news report she watched about a thing that was happening to girls in England. The girls were tricked by men, and at the end of it, they would be drugged and then raped. The men would take pictures of her and threaten to show her parents unless she prostituted herself. My cousin said that the girl they interviewed had to live near us as there were some landmarks in the video of our city. I later checked the video, and it had confirmed that the new girl at school was her. She came to America to get away from her town where everyone knew what happened to her. I'm the only one at our school that knows. Fair play to you for keeping that quiet. Very decent. If the girl moved countries to escape harassment, goodness, she's been through enough. Teaching high school. A solid C student who is a good kid with not quite enough sense comes up to me after class. "Mr. Deradius, I was fishing this morning and forgot I had this in my pocket. Wanted to do the right thing." Goes to hand me a pocket knife. The district has a zero-tolerance policy. It's unclear what will happen to this kid, depends on whether it has happened before, but it will be some pretty bad mojo. The last thing I want is for this kid to learn firsthand at this point in his life that doing the right thing will get you fed into the wheels of a terrible bureaucracy where you will then be ground into dust. So I tell him about the policy, and what would happen to him if I weren't me. Then I'd put the knife in my own pocket, wondering to myself if I'll get fired if I'm caught with it, and give it back to him at the end of the day, with a statement along the lines of, "I never saw this, you're going to go straight home and never bring this back to school, and we're never going to speak of this again." Very, very rarely do I break or bend any rules or laws. I drive 5 miles under the speed limit. I felt guilty even doing this. But in this case, I could not in good conscience turn this kid in for doing what he was supposed to do. This kind of thinking and looking out for the kid's future is what separates great teachers from just good ones. I bet this made a strong impression on the kid too. You did the right thing. One of my good friend's wife is in love with me. They have been married and have 3 kids, and she has told me that she is willing to leave all of that to be with me. If that info got out, I know at least 4 people whose lives would be turned upside down. Doesn't make it better that I'm a chick and am 15 years younger than she is. Wow, that last sentence kind of escalated everything. My friend's girlfriend cheated on him with his mom. Him and his father just decided to live life to the fullest after that, and became very close. Traveling the world and such. Sad moment, happy ending, it all depends how you proceed with the things you have control of. When I was younger, I had a lot of problems going on in my life. I couldn't focus on school because I partied and smoked weed a lot. My brother tried to help me, but he couldn't. I found out that one of my brother's friends, named Charles, sold meth for easy money. So I bought some of it and started smoking. My brother quickly found out about it. He stole my meth and locked me in my parents' basement, while he smoked it himself. Throwaway here, one of my best mates, let's call him Charles, deals meth. He doesn't deal in big portions but still enough to destroy people's lives. What I didn't know was that my sister was going through a rough patch and started to buy off him. Charles knew this, however. Due to his family background, he wasn't financially stable, and he would often crash at his mates' houses regularly, ergo he kept supplying my sister for the easy cash. I was unaware that any of this was going on at the time, and not only was it ruining my sister's life but also the lives of the other people he was supplying. We first found out about my sister's drug abuse when our parents were going through her room for dirty laundry, and found her stash under her bed. We questioned her about it, and she insisted that she was only holding it for her friend Jamie to stop her from using. We didn't believe her, so we locked her up in the basement, and took the meth to smoke for ourselves because we know that the meth Charles deals is some quality shit. My grandmother always told us her dad was a firefighter who had a heart attack at age 35 and died, and her mom had told her a whole story down to the exact street corner he had the attack on, and I never thought about it. Except it did seem a little strange that no one else in our family had any history of heart disease, much less an early death from it. When she was dying of cancer, her last wish was to be buried next to him, but she didn't know where he was buried, so I told her I would try and help. I did a bunch of research and found out that he actually didn't die of a heart attack, but instead just left my great-grandma, moved to LA, remarried and had a new family. He died there some 30 years after my grandma thought he did. I never told my grandma that her dad abandoned her. Her last memories of him were good ones, and she ended up in an orphanage after that, so he really did fuck her life over. I'm curious to meet his new family, but I don't think they'd be interested to know he never divorced my great-grandma, so his marriage to their mom was never actually valid. Well, I bought my current house from this guy, and now he lives in a bunker underneath the property. The bastard doesn't think I know, but I see him every time he comes and goes in the night. I used to work at a major university, and a couple of my bosses took from federal grant money and used it to pay for a vacation to Rio de Janeiro. When I was 10, a family friend molested me until I was 13. I was young and terrified and never told anybody because I knew what shit would go down if I did. My mother would have lost it, my brother would have tried to kill the man, and I knew that everyone would want to take him to court. I just wanted it to go away, and a few weeks after I turned 13, he died in a car crash. So, he got what was coming to him. I still haven't told anybody except one person. I was, and still am, afraid to tell my family. Take it from someone who was molested and waited for years to tell family members. Telling them and talking it out with your family is the best thing you can do. It can be really weird for a while with the possibility of your dad not looking at you in the eye for a month or so, but trust me, it all gets better. Just having it in the open makes you feel free and like a weight is lifted. Obviously, the choice is all yours. I just know that if I knew back then what I know now, I wouldn't have waited so long to tell them. My buddy, very popular guy, tried to make a move on me on his birthday. We're both guys and really good friends. So as of now, I think he's closeted, or I don't know honestly. I've never brought it up, only to one friend. Never planning on telling anyone. I'm still cool with him, and am sure he remembers. But that's his business. And you rejected him? What a fact, bro, it was his birthday. A little while back I downloaded Tinder to try it out. About the 10th woman who came up was a friend's wife. My half-sister molested me until I was 9. She's now married with 2 kids, and I haven't spoken to her in 7 years, and don't intend to. It's not her life I care about. I'd leave her rotting in a ditch if I could. I just can't put my family through knowing what was happening all those years. I knew my friend's uncle was cheating on his wife. Also, he was getting his 14-year-old to drive him around when he was drunk. Throwaway, obviously. When my dad was arrested for domestic disturbance, he had actually attempted to kidnap me that night. He walked into my room and picked me up, I was 5 to 6, and asked if I wanted to go across the country with him. I excitedly said yes, of course, but then my mom came in with the phone and asked him to speak with the police who were on the line. He put me down, and I never told anyone. That shit could send him to jail if people found out, and if my mom hadn't have walked in at that moment, my life would have been a lot different. My grandpa took the job in Saudi Arabia to be closer to his Filipino girlfriend, leaving his brain-damaged wife to suffer her final years in my and my mother's care. My grandma is doing everything she can to get well after her stroke, hoping he comes back home. It's heartbreaking. I came into work one day and a female coworker had been using my computer to Facebook chat. She had went home and accidentally left her Facebook up. So, seeing how it was my office and my computer, I read through some of the IM. She had been sleeping with her boss for months and the conversations were very graphic. Oh yeah, boss is married. In one conversation he laughs about how female employee left 5 minutes before my wife came home. Now boss and I are even as far as rank goes, but we rarely get along and haven't for years. I've always thought he was a douche, and this confirmed it. This took place about 3 years ago. We've had several head-to-head arguments since then, and I've always known I could absolutely ruin his shit if I wanted to, but I've always taken the higher road. He has no idea I have that full conversation still on my computer. You make sure you hold your ace, and if it is ever needed you pull it out. That's an arrow in your quiver. That's a goddamn nuclear missile in your quiver. My uncle molested me as a child, even paid me a few bucks here and there for performing well. I never told anyone, because he was a dumb, young teenager, and I didn't want to ruin my family. It wouldn't have been you who ruined the family. Sorry that happened. I guess that's true. Thanks for the comment. Being a dumb, Young teenager means breaking mailboxes or being mean to your parents. What he did goes way beyond that. If you don't want to say anything, that's up to you, but don't justify his behavior like that. I kept quiet the fact that my father was cheating on my mother for a while. I never mentioned it to anyone, not even my father. I just kept tabs on him. One day, though, I slipped up, and now my parents have split. Divorce will be down the line. That's not your fault. It's your dad's. I hope you know that. I was the other guy in an affair. Ended up getting her pregnant. She gave birth to her in December. The husband still does not know. I regret my stupid decisions and now have to live with my mistakes and the weight that it brings. Now have to live with my mistakes. That's really impressive of you, guy who is having his kid raised by another man who has no idea. I found out my father isn't my biological father. My real father died a few years back and I never got to meet him while he was alive. Apparently my mother was in love with him, and once my parents split for a brief period in the early 80s I was conceived. Once I was born my mother left him and continued with my father. Nobody knows I know, and I actually found his kids and family on Facebook. I haven't spoken of this to them or sent a friend request. Occasionally when I'm feeling down I go view their profiles and see how their lives are going. So I have 2 younger half-siblings I've never met. I doubt they know I exist. I'm scared of telling my folks I know in fear of reigniting a fires that have burned out or hurting our relationship deeply. Well, you're a fully grown adult now. I'm sure if you approach the subject in a calm manner with your folks and reassure them that all will remain the same, they're not gonna flip out. Plus your biological dad is gone now, so there isn't really going to be much drama on that end. I can only imagine how it must be eating away at you knowing that somewhere else in the world you have several half-siblings and feeling incapable of reaching out to them. Of course I can't say for sure, but I'm confident that if they knew you existed they would want to get in touch too. Family is family after all. This is true. I've ran over every scenario in my head a million times and just can't come to grips with breaking the silence. On his family, just to let them know I exist. And on mine, I just feel if they wanted me to know they would have said something a long time ago. Hey, I have an opinion on your situation that I think you should consider. My qualifications are that most cats like me and I'm pretty good at Counter-Strike, for what it's worth. Have you considered that your situation is a long-running burden on your parents? A situation that's not your fault at all, it's theirs. But have you considered that they live in fear of you finding out? Fear that you'll hate your mom for sleeping with another man who she loved, hate her for lying about it, hate your dad, the one who raised you, for not telling you, etc., etc.? There is a reason they didn't tell you, and it's probably their own fear, and wanting to do what they thought was best for you. Maybe telling them would be a huge relief. You say, look, I found these letters when I was moving these boxes. I know, I love you guys, you are my parents. I don't blame you for anything, I'm not mad, I just want to be open about it and be able to have healthy conversations about it. And I'm interested in my siblings' lives and may want to reach out to them, etc., etc. Anyways, I think right now it's safe to assume your parents are afraid of you finding out, possibly ashamed, worried how you'll react, etc. And I think they'd be relieved for you to let the cat out of the bag. I really do. This is a great response. You're a great response. Sorry, I don't know how to handle positive feedback on Reddit. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.